I really enjoyed getting to know these buildings. They became like sort of friends of mine in a way. And you could go up to them and you could just imagine the history they'd seen. Difficult times for China, of course, but nevertheless, very interesting to me. My father asked me to find his house that he'd first lived in when he was, soon after he was born in China. And I became absolutely hooked on these buildings. Tianjin is where it started. It was almost as if a chunk of London had been lifted up and put down in Tianjin, because there were all these residences that were distinctive British architectural style. 2004, I took my father, came out to stay with us, and I took him up to Tianjin. And the first thing I wanted to do was I took him to see the house. It was dark, but never mind. And my goodness, what a bit of luck. The downstairs of the house was at that time a bar. So we could go in to his old house. The upstairs was blocked off, but we could go into his old house where he hadn't been for 75 years and have a drink in the bar. And as you can imagine, it was quite a moving experience for him and for me indirectly. It was 12 years in the making. My main objective with all of this, apart from recording these wonderful buildings for my own use and also to research my family time in China, I'm really keen, I really want people to be able to find these buildings and more importantly, to know what they are, what some of their history was. I was always interested in history, particularly the Victorian era. I'm interested in sort of from the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 up until the beginning of the First World War. I mean, I'm not an architectural expert. I'm a former practicing accountant. That's my trade and my career. And I'm a keen photographer. And I'm interested in, you know, who was in the building, not its style as such. I mean, there aren't many, I mean, there are a lot of different styles because you had many different concession areas. You had French concessions, you had Russian concessions, you had German concessions. So I'd always promised myself that once I felt I could retire, I mean, I was only 53, I wanted to do photography, to concentrate on photography, which had been a passion of mine since I was very young. I was introduced to it at my boarding school when I was about 8. And I had intended to concentrate on wildlife and landscape photography, nothing to do with buildings at all. Every trip I got excited about, here we go, we're going to find some new buildings that we haven't seen before. And I'm looking forward to going back as well. Hong Kong was a colony, it wasn't a treaty port, so it was outside the scope of this particular project. And I thought, you know, Hong Kong's my home. It's been my home since 1983. I can't ignore it. I must do something. So as you know, we have declared monuments in Hong Kong. So I set about photographing the declared monuments in Hong Kong. Now, it's kind of a never-ending journey because they tend to make 2 or 3 new declared monuments every year. So I've got no end game. I've got nowhere I can stop.